Anna Carter brushed the dirt off her hands and adjusted her wide-brimmed hat. The sun was hot above the ancient Maya ruins of Xunantunich in Belize. She had been working all morning, carefully digging around the stones, when something shiny caught her eye. "What's this?" Anna whispered, pulling out a small leather-bound book from the soil. The edges were worn, and the pages looked fragile, but there were strange symbols and beautiful drawings on the cover. Just then, a cheerful voice called out, "Need a hand, doctor?" "Carter?" Anna turned to see Julio Escobar, a local tour guide, standing with a warm smile. He was tall and had sun-kissed skin, his dark eyes sparkling with curiosity. Julio had been helping the archaeologists by guiding tourists and sharing the history of the ruins, but Anna could tell there was more to him than he let on. "I found this," Anna said, holding up the diary. "It looks ancient." Julio's smile faded, and his expression grew serious. He stepped closer, carefully examining the book. "This symbol," he said, pointing to a strange design on the cover, "is from a Maya prophecy. My grandfather used to tell me stories about it." Anna's curiosity piqued. "What kind of prophecy?" Julio hesitated, then said, "It's about two people who would uncover a great truth that could change everything. But it also warned of danger, of people who would do anything to stop them." Anna's heart raced. "Do you think this is connected to the prophecy?" Before Julio could answer, a loud crash echoed through the jungle. Both of them froze. "What was that?" Anna asked nervously. Julio's eyes darted toward the sound. "We need to leave. Now," he said, grabbing Anna's hand. They ran through the ruins, the diary tucked safely in Anna's bag. As they reached the edge of the site, Julio pulled her behind a large stone pillar. Peeking out, they saw two men dressed in black searching the area where Anna had been digging. As the sun sank below the horizon, casting the ruins in golden light, Anna and Julio slipped away into the jungle. The diary in Anna's bag felt heavier than it should, as if the secrets it held carried a weight of their own. They didn't stop until they reached Julio's small wooden cabin, hidden deep in the jungle. The cabin was simple but cozy, with shelves lined with books and artifacts Julio had collected over the years. "We'll be safe here for now," he said, bolting the door behind them. Anna set the diary on the table and opened it carefully. The pages were filled with drawings of ancient Maya symbols and what looked like poetry written in an old script. "Do you recognize any of this?" she asked. Julio leaned over the book, tracing a finger along the faded ink. "This symbol here," he said, pointing to a sun surrounded by jaguars, "is the mark of Kinich Ahau, the Maya sun god. And this writing, it's not just a diary, it's part of an old prophecy." Anna frowned. "You mentioned the prophecy before. What does it say exactly?" Julio hesitated, his eyes serious. "It tells of a hidden treasure, something the Maya believed held great power. But it also warns that the treasure could bring destruction if it falls into the wrong hands." Anna's heart pounded. "Do you think those men at the ruins were looking for this?" "I'm sure of it," Julio replied. "And if they know you have the diary, they won't stop until they get it." Anna's mind raced. "We have to figure out what it says and find this treasure before they do." Julio nodded. "Agreed. But deciphering this won't be easy. We'll need help from someone who understands the old language better than I do." "Do you know someone?" Anna asked. Julio's expression darkened. "Yes, but he's not exactly trustworthy. His name is Mateo, and he's a historian who deals with rare artifacts. He might help us, but only if he doesn't see a way to profit from it." Anna didn't like the sound of that, but they didn't have much choice. "Let's go find him," she said firmly. As they prepared to leave, a shadow passed by the window. Julio froze, motioning for Anna to stay quiet. Footsteps crunched outside, and the sound of voices speaking in hushed tones reached their ears. "They found us," Julio whispered, his jaw tightening. Anna's chest tightened with fear, but she stood her ground. "What do we do now?" Julio grabbed a small leather bag from the corner of the room and handed Anna a flashlight. "We're not staying to find out. There's a hidden path behind the cabin that leads to the river. Stay close to me, and no matter what happens, don't look back." With the diary clutched tightly under her arm, Anna followed Julio into the dense jungle. The night was alive with the sounds of insects and the rustling of leaves, but every step felt heavier with the knowledge that danger was closing in. As they approached the riverbank, Anna noticed a strange carving on a nearby rock. It matched one of the symbols in the diary. "Julio, wait," she said, pointing to it. His eyes widened. "That's a marker. It means we're closer to the treasure than I thought." Before they could investigate further, a loud shout echoed through the jungle, followed by the sound of footsteps closing in fast. "Run!" Julio yelled, pulling Anna along as the jungle erupted into chaos. Anna's heart pounded as she and Julio raced through the thick jungle under the moonlit sky. Behind them, shouts and crashing footsteps grew louder, making it clear that the men in black were closing in. "We're almost there," Julio called out, his hand firmly gripping Anna's. The hidden path wound down to the riverbank, where a small wooden canoe was tied to a tree. Julio helped Anna climb in before untying the rope and pushing them into the slow-moving water. "Will this take us to Mateo?" Anna asked, trying to steady her voice. Julio nodded as he began paddling. "Yes, he has a small library on the other side of the river. If anyone can help us decode the diary, it's him. But be warned, Mateo's not exactly the most reliable ally." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" Julio sighed, his paddling steady. "Mateo is brilliant when it comes to ancient languages, but he's always looking for a way to profit from what he knows. If he thinks this diary is valuable, he might try to take it for himself." Anna frowned but didn't respond. She looked down at the diary in her lap, its leather cover worn and mysterious. They couldn't afford to trust the wrong person, but they didn't have many options. The river glistened under the moonlight, the jungle on either side humming with life. After what felt like an eternity, they reached the far shore. A small cabin stood nestled among the trees, light flickering through its windows. "That's Mateo's place," Julio said, tying the canoe to a nearby post. They approached the cabin cautiously. Julio knocked on the door, and after a few moments a man in his 60s opened it. He was tall and wiry, with silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through them. "Julio," Mateo said, a smirk forming on his face. "It's been a while. What brings you here at this hour?" Julio didn't waste time. "We need your help, Mateo. We found something important at the ruins of Xunantunich." Mateo's eyes lit up with curiosity. "Something important, you say? Well, come in, come in." Inside, the cabin was cluttered with books, maps, and strange artifacts. Mateo cleared a space on a table, and Anna placed the diary there. Mateo's eyebrows shot up as he examined the cover. This is extraordinary. Do you know what you found?" "We were hoping you could tell us," Anna said cautiously. Mateo opened the diary with trembling hands, scanning the pages. "These symbols, they're ancient Maya, but not just any script. This is a sacred language used only by the high priests. It speaks of a treasure hidden in the heart of the jungle, something said to hold unimaginable power." Anna glanced at Julio, her pulse quickening. "Can you translate it?" Mateo grinned. "Oh, I can translate it. But I'll need something in return. A find like this doesn't come cheap, you know." Julio's jaw tightened. "This isn't a game, Mateo. There are people after us, dangerous people. If we don't figure this out, they'll get to the treasure first, and who knows what they'll do with it." Mateo leaned back, stroking his chin. "Fine, I'll help. But if we find this treasure, I want a share of it." Anna hesitated, then nodded. "Deal. Just help us figure out where it is." Mateo began decoding the diary, muttering to himself as he worked. Hours passed, and the room grew tense with anticipation. Finally, he looked up. "The diary speaks of a temple deep in the jungle," Mateo said. "It's hidden behind a waterfall, guarded by traps and illusions. Only those deemed worthy can enter." Julio frowned. "What does that mean?" Mateo shrugged. "It's hard to say, but the diary mentions two signs, a jaguar and a rising sun. If you follow those symbols, you'll find the way." Anna's excitement was tempered by a creeping sense of dread. "And the men chasing us, what if they find it first?" Mateo's expression darkened. "Then we'd better move fast, but be careful. The diary also warns of betrayal from within." Anna exchanged a wary glance with Julio, the weight of Mateo's words sinking in. Could they trust him, or even each other? Before they could ponder it further, a loud knock at the door shattered the silence. "Open up!" a rough voice demanded from outside. Mateo's face turned pale. "They've found us." The pounding on the door grew louder, each knock like a drumbeat echoing through the cramped cabin. Anna's heart raced as Julio motioned for her to stay quiet. Mateo froze, his eyes darting toward the diary on the table. "Quick!" Julio whispered, grabbing the diary. "We can't let them get this." Mateo pointed toward a trapdoor hidden under a rug in the corner. "Down there. It leads to a tunnel that goes into the jungle. Go." "What about you?" Anna asked, her voice trembling. Mateo smirked. "I've dealt with shady types before. I'll stall them." Without another word, Julio pulled Anna toward the trapdoor. As they climbed down into the dark tunnel, they heard the door crash open above them. "Where is it, old man?" a gruff voice barked. Anna's stomach churned. She could only hope Mateo knew what he was doing. The tunnel was damp and narrow, the air thick with the earthy scent of soil. Julio led the way, a flashlight in one hand and the diary tucked under his arm. "Do you think Mateo will be okay?" Anna asked, her voice barely a whisper. Julio glanced back at her. "Mateo's a survivor. He'll buy us time." The tunnel seemed to stretch on forever, but finally they emerged into the open jungle. The night was alive with the hum of insects and the distant call of howler monkeys. "Where do we go now?" Anna asked, looking around. Julio opened the diary and scanned the pages. "We follow the signs, the jaguar and the rising sun. There's a waterfall deep in the jungle that's supposed to hide the temple. If we find it, we'll find the treasure." "But how will we know which way to go?" Anna asked. Julio pointed to a jaguar symbol carved into a tree nearby. "These symbols will guide us." As they began their trek, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every rustling leaf and snapping twig made her jump. "Do you think they'll follow us?" she asked nervously. Julio nodded grimly. "If they have Mateo, they'll force him to talk. We need to move fast." They walked for hours, guided by the jaguar symbols etched into trees and rocks. As dawn broke, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, they reached a clearing. "There," Julio said, pointing to a shimmering waterfall cascading down a rocky cliff. The rising sun cast rainbows through the mist, making the scene look almost magical. Anna's breath caught. "It's beautiful." Julio smiled but stayed focused. "The temple should be behind the waterfall." They waded through the shallow pool at the base of the falls, the cool water splashing around their ankles. Behind the curtain of water, they found a narrow opening in the rock. "This must be it," Julio said, his voice echoing. As they stepped inside, the air grew cooler, and the faint glow of the outside world faded. The tunnel opened into a large chamber, its walls covered in ancient carvings of jaguars and suns. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and on it rested a small, intricately carved box. "Is that it?" Anna asked, her voice hushed. Julio approached the pedestal cautiously. "It has to be." He reached for the box, but as his fingers touched it, the ground beneath them rumbled. The carvings on the walls began to glow, and a low growl echoed through the chamber. "What's happening?" Anna cried, clutching Julio's arm. "It's a trap!" Julio shouted. "We need to get out of here." But before they could move, a figure stepped into the chamber's entrance. It was one of the men in black, holding a gun. "Going somewhere?" he sneered. Anna's heart sank. They were cornered, and the treasure's secrets might never see the light of day. Anna froze, her heart pounding as the man in black leveled his gun at them. The chamber's glowing walls cast eerie shadows across his face, making him look even more menacing. "Hand over the box," the man growled, his voice cold and steady. Julio stepped protectively in front of Anna, holding up his hands. "Listen, you don't understand what you're dealing with. This isn't just a treasure. It's dangerous." The man smirked, his grip tightening on the gun. "Dangerous or not, it's worth a fortune. Now give it to me, or I'll take it myself." Anna glanced at the pedestal, where the carved box sat glowing faintly in the chamber's light. Her mind raced. If this box was as powerful as the diary suggested, it couldn't fall into the wrong hands. But how could they get out of this alive? Suddenly the chamber rumbled again, the vibration stronger this time. The carvings on the walls seemed to come alive, the jaguar's eyes glowing fiercely. The growl that had echoed earlier grew louder, reverberating through the air. The man in black faltered, his eyes darting around nervously. "What's happening?" he demanded. Julio took the moment of distraction to act. With lightning speed, he grabbed a small rock from the ground and hurled it at the man. It struck his wrist, forcing him to drop the gun. Before the man could react, Julio lunged forward, tackling him to the ground. "Anna, get the box!" Julio shouted as he wrestled with the man. Anna hesitated, her hands trembling, but she forced herself to move. She ran to the pedestal and carefully lifted the box. It was heavier than it looked, its intricate carvings warm under her fingers. As soon as she took it, the chamber shook violently, and part of the ceiling began to collapse. Stones fell around them, and dust filled the air. "Julio!" Anna screamed, clutching the box tightly. Julio managed to land a final blow that knocked the man unconscious. He scrambled to his feet and grabbed Anna's hand. "We have to get out of here, now!" They ran toward the chamber's entrance, dodging falling debris. The jaguar carvings roared to life, their glowing eyes following their every move. The ground beneath them cracked, threatening to give way. Just as they reached the tunnel, a massive boulder fell, blocking the entrance. They skidded to a stop, panic setting in. "We're trapped!" Anna cried. Julio scanned the chamber, his mind racing. "Look!" he said, pointing to a smaller tunnel on the other side of the room, partially hidden by vines. "That might lead out." They sprinted toward the tunnel, the chamber collapsing around them. As they entered, the air grew cooler, and the rumbling began to subside. The tunnel wound upward, and after a few minutes of climbing, they emerged into the jungle, gasping for air. The morning sun was now fully up, casting golden light over the trees. Anna collapsed onto the ground, clutching the box to her chest. "That was too close," she said between breaths. Julio nodded, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But we made it, and we have the box." He didn't finish the sentence, but Anna knew what he meant. The jungle was alive with sounds, but for the first time it felt hostile, as if every rustling leaf and snapping twig could be a sign of danger. As they stood to continue their journey, a new thought struck Anna. "Julio, what if Mateo betrayed us? What if he told them where we were?" Julio hesitated, his jaw tightening. "I don't want to believe that, but we can't rule it out. We'll have to be careful, Anna. From now on, we trust no one but each other." Anna nodded, gripping the box tightly. "Let's find out what's inside and make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." Together, they disappeared deeper into the jungle, the box's secrets pulling them toward an unknown destiny. Anna and Julio moved through the jungle, the tension between them heavy. Every sound, every shadow felt like a potential threat. With the carved box in hand, they pressed on until they reached a secluded clearing where they could finally rest and examine their find. The clearing was peaceful, with sunlight streaming through the canopy and a small stream bubbling nearby. Julio carefully set the box on a flat rock, his eyes scanning its intricate carvings. "This box has been hidden for centuries," he said. "Whatever's inside could change everything." Anna hesitated. "Do you think we should open it? What if it's dangerous?" Julio looked at her, his expression serious. "If we don't open it, we'll never know what we're protecting or what we're up against. But we have to be prepared for anything." Anna nodded, her fingers trembling as she reached for the lid. Slowly she lifted it, and a soft golden light spilled out, illuminating their faces. Inside was a single object, a small polished stone carved with ancient symbols. It shimmered like sunlight on water. Anna frowned. "That's it? A stone?" Julio picked it up carefully, his eyes widening as he studied the symbols. "This isn't just any stone. It's a sunstone, a sacred artifact the Maya believed held the power to unite people. It was said to bring peace and prosperity if used wisely, but chaos if misused." As they stared at the stone, a voice behind them made them freeze. "Hand it over." They turned to see the man in black, battered but standing, his gun aimed at them. "You've led me right to it," he sneered. "Now give me the stone, and no one gets hurt." Julio stepped in front of Anna, shielding her. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. This stone isn't meant for power or greed. It's meant to protect and heal." The man laughed coldly. "I don't care about your myths. I care about what it's worth." Before he could take another step, the jungle around them seemed to come alive. The ground trembled, and the air filled with a low, resonant hum. The jaguar carvings on the box began to glow again, and the stone in Julio's hand grew warm. The man faltered, looking around in panic. "What's happening?" Julio held the stone high, his voice steady. "This is the stone's warning. It won't allow itself to be used for harm." The hum grew louder, and the man dropped his gun, clutching his head as if in pain. "Make it stop!" he screamed before stumbling backward and disappearing into the jungle. The hum ceased and the jungle grew still again. Anna and Julio exchanged a glance, their breaths coming fast. "It protected itself," Anna whispered. Julio nodded. The Maya knew this stone's power wasn't just physical. It's tied to something greater. They carefully placed the stone back in the box and sealed it. "We can't let anyone else find this," Julio said. "It belongs here, in the jungle, where it can't be misused." Together, they returned to the ruins and buried the box in a hidden chamber, leaving no trace of its location. As they stood over the spot, Anna turned to Julio. Do you think we did the right thing? She asked. Julio smiled softly. The right thing isn't always easy, Anna, but some things are meant to stay part of the Earth's story, not ours. As they left the ruins hand in hand, Anna felt a sense of peace. The treasure they'd found wasn't gold or jewels. It was a lesson about the balance of power, responsibility, and respect for the past. As the days passed, Anna and Julio ventured deeper into the jungle, following the diary's clues and dodging the relentless men in black. The challenges they faced only strengthened the bond growing between them. Julio's steadfast calm balanced Anna's relentless determination, and together they were unstoppable. One evening, as they set up camp by the river, the tension between them softened. The golden light of the carved box cast warm shadows on their faces as they sat by the fire, sharing stories of their pasts. "I never thought I'd end up in Belize," Anna said, staring into the flames. "I was running from my mistakes, hoping that burying myself in ancient ruins would distract me. But now, I feel like I'm actually running toward something." Julio looked at her, his expression tender. "You're not the only one running, Anna. I stayed in the jungle to avoid the world, its complications, its betrayals. But meeting you, it's made me realize that even in chaos, there's something worth holding on to." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the jungle around them seemed to fade. The crackling of the fire and the hum of the jungle created a symphony that matched the rhythm of their hearts. Slowly, Julio reached out and took Anna's hand. "You've changed the way I see the world," he said softly. Anna smiled, her cheeks warming more from his words than the fire. Maybe the world was just waiting for us to see it together. The next day, they reached the final marker, a hidden temple behind a waterfall. Inside, the air was cool and heavy with history. The glowing carvings on the walls guided them to a pedestal where they were meant to place the box. Julio hesitated, glancing at Anna. "Are we ready for this?" he asked. Anna nodded. "Together we are." As they set the box down, the ground rumbled, and light radiated from the walls, revealing an ancient inscription. It spoke of unity and harmony, of how strength comes not from one, but from two hearts beating as one. The glowing stone inside the box symbolized balance, not power. The men in black arrived moments later, bursting into the chamber. But as they tried to seize the stone, the temple itself seemed to react, casting beams of light that sent them fleeing in fear. The treasure protected itself, just as Julio had said it would. Outside the temple, Anna and Julio stood hand in hand, watching the jungle reclaim the ruins. They had buried the box where it belonged, ensuring it would remain safe for generations. Julio turned to Anna, his eyes filled with warmth. "This isn't the end for us, is it?" Anna shook her head. "No, it's just the beginning." True treasures are not gold or power, but the connections we forge and the strength we find in each other. Love, trust, and unity are the forces that light our way, even in the darkest of times. This is the conclusion of Treasures of the Maya Ruins. If you enjoyed this story, give it a thumbs up. Comment so that I can know your thoughts. Share it with others. And subscribe to my channel. This is Irene Pandy Slusher saying don't stress. But as we say in Belize, go slow.